Welcome to On the Waterfront, where we dive into the vibrant world that makes up Santa Barbara's harbor, wharf, and beaches. I'm Dominique Samario with the City of Santa Barbara, and we're here on the Waterfront Center patio alongside our marinas in Santa Barbara Harbor. And to talk about this iconic place, I have with me our Harbor Operations Manager, Mr. Mick Kronman. Thank you so much for joining me, Mick.
Pleasure to be here, Dominique.
So, I said this is an iconic spot, and I really mean that because I think when people see photos of Santa Barbara and throughout the history, really the harbor and the waterfront is included. Give me a little bit of the background.
Well, it's one of the entrees to Santa Barbara, the harbor and the wharf and what have you, and it dates all the way back the harbor to 1930 and before really, but it's pegged to 1930 when the breakwater was constructed. And it's been, the marinas were built in the 1960s, and it's been a vibrant place that just keeps building upon itself year after year, and it is iconic. It's been the home to a 100-year-old commercial fishing fleet.
Really?
And we have 1,139 slips and spread over 4 marinas and dozens of tenants and dozens of activities, and it's just one of the go-to places in our city.
I mean, you're good because you just touched on, really everything that is this harbor and what we have to offer. I want to get into really what makes this where we are. And so you talked about the breakwater. And, we have some historic photos of the City of Santa Barbara Waterfront Department. And this breakwater with the, kind of entrance gate, if you will, the pillars there, this is that breakwater. When they walk out now, they're walking on what was built decades ago, right?
Absolutely, rock quarried from Santa Cruz Island. It was built originally in the 1930s. The parapet wall has been added, the sidewalks have been added, a lot of things have been added incrementally, but yeah, it dates to right around 1930 as an established harbor with a breakwater, a protective breakwater.
And now that breakwater, you said, came after, though, the fact that our commercial fishing industry, you said, is over 100 years old. So tell me about that. What's commercial fishing and what does that mean? Right.
It means, fishing for sale to wholesalers who sell to the public through retail outlets. But it really began over 100 years ago with the Castagnolas and Larcos setting up shop here. And it started with fish markets and folks peddling right at the foot of Stearns Wharf and a couple blocks away, even selling door to door. But the boats that caught the fish were actually here in Santa Barbara Harbor before the breakwater, a good 15, 20 years before the breakwater was built.
And so now today, we're still an active, thriving, working harbor. When somebody says we're a working harbor, what does that mean? What should that mean to somebody listening?
Well, it's interesting. There's a policy aspect to it in the local coastal program, Santa Barbara Harbor, which is, of course, a state document, function of a state document. Santa Barbara Harbor is described as a harbor in which priority ocean-dependent uses are commercial fishing and recreational boating. But when most people think of it as a working harbor, they typically think of our working commercial fishing fleet. I mean, right here we have a city pier with 4 fish hoists on it. The people can come down in the afternoon and watch people unloading. And we have a 10-ton ice machine on the end of the pier.
What types of fisheries then are going on around here?
Commercial lobster season, that's big in this town. Sea bass, yellowtail, swordfish. Urchins is huge. We're one of the biggest producers in the state, I believe the biggest, in sea urchins, from which they extract the uni that is so popular. We see in sushi restaurants. So there are a variety of fisheries worth about, $10 million a year to the fishermen, and extrapolated economic benefits are $25 to $40 million a year.
It's incredible. So it's important to kind of our history and who we are, and also that state, that coastal code and such, but it also is a really a good thing for our economy as well.
Very good thing for our economy, and it's great for people who visit Santa Barbara, and they can walk out on the city pier and they can see the variety of fish and shellfish being unloaded. It's a huge attraction for folks, and the fishermen like to interact with people, and it's great all the way around.
You touched on that commercial fishing side. So now what about our recreational boating? Where do we house? Tell us about where, we're here next to the marinas. Tell us about that.
Well, Santa Barbara Harbor has 4 marinas altogether. Marina 1 is by far the largest. It has almost half of our 1,139 slips. And then there are marinas 2, 3, and 4 moving from west to east. And they were all built in the mid-1960s or so, and they've all been renovated since then. And right now we're in the 6th of 8 phases of totally rebuilding Marina 1. Just to go 3 more years to go, including this fall, and we'll have totally rebuilt that, the biggest marina in the harbor.
And what are the needs? Why do we need to rebuild Marina 1? I mean, all of them, like you mentioned, but particularly Marina 1 being our largest.
It was showing signs of wear. You know, we're in an environment that eats boats and pilings and wharves, and it was the cement headwalk needed rebuilding, every part of the marina rebuilding. It was just time. It was either now or sometimes down the road, and we'd spent so many years patching it, if you will, keeping it alive. The time just came to take the capital plunge, if you will, and rebuild the whole marina.
And of those 1,139 boats, I take it our slips are full, correct?
We are. That's one of the unique things about our harbor compared to others, is that demand far exceeds supply. Most other harbors are trying to fill. In Santa Barbara Harbor, we have a whole complex mechanism of waiting lists and lotteries and what have you when slips become available. So that's a whole tricky ball of wax in itself.
Well, and with that being full, what kind of boats are out there? When somebody comes and walks around, because that's what I love. I don't own a boat, but I work here at the harbor, and I'm walking around, and what am I going to see?
That's one of the coolest things about the harbor. We have fishing boats, power boats, sailboats, liveaboards, non-liveaboards, human-powered craft, and we don't have setbacks like they have in a residential community. So we're all cheek to jowl down here in one tight-knit boating community, bound primarily by people's love of the water and the sea. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful mix of all kinds of folks and all kinds of craft.
So last thing, and then we have to wrap up. You have so much knowledge. I just want to keep asking questions, but we're going to wrap up. But I know something that's very important to us at the Waterfront Department is our Clean Marina program.
Sure.
Can you tell me what that means?
Sure. Our Clean Marina program, we actually started it in 2002. It became very apparent that marine stewardship, environmental stewardship of our marine waters, including harbors, was the next huge thing in the environmental movement, if you will. So we tried to get ahead of it, and in doing so, we created our Clean Marina program, as I said, in 2002. It has 7 different elements in it, everything from our bilge pump outs to our sewage pump outs. We hand out free grant provided oil absorbent pads.
So
we do Operation Clean Sweep we do every year. In 9 years, we've taken 16 tons of junk off the seafloor in Santa Barbara Harbor. So it's a whole mix of environmentally driven projects and programs that we're very, very proud of.
And that's important for our marine environment and also for the upkeep and the niceness of our harbor.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's an ocean-borne litter debris removal program, and we're very proud of the fact that we're 16 tons towards the good in that regard.
Well, thank you, Mick, so much for talking about it. I appreciate all of your knowledge and history so much.
Pleasure to be here, Dominique.
And something you mentioned was that we're in the middle of an important fishing season. That's lobster season over the weekend. So stay tuned, because up next we're actually going to have the president of the Commercial Fishermen of Santa Barbara, Inc., Mr. Chris Voss.
Minutes away. Hours of fun. Explore new worlds. Grab a bite. Have a blast. Catch the fun. Stearns Wharf. Playing near you.
Welcome back to On the Waterfront. As our first guest talked about, Santa Barbara Harbor has a rich history of commercial fishing. So to talk about this more in depth, I have the president of Commercial Fishermen of Santa Barbara, Mr. Chris Voss. Thank you so much for joining me, Chris.
It's great to be here. Thanks,
So,
Dominique.
tell me a little bit, first of all, so we can get to know you, about your history as a commercial fisherman.
Well, I was born here in Santa Barbara, and I grew up fishing from a very young age. And one of my claims to fame is having participated in a wide variety of different commercial fisheries here in Santa Barbara and also in Alaska.
That's incredible. And when you talk about growing up and in fishing here throughout your life. Tell me a little bit, has it changed? Has it grown? What is the current state of commercial fishing in Santa Barbara?
Well, when I started, it was I was just drawn to the opportunity, and I loved to be on the water all the time, and then as I became committed to it and became a commercial fisherman, there was a period of time where the public felt that we were some sort of a villains. I felt we were vilified over time, and I think we're turning the corner on that, because we have a much more rigorous regulatory environment and many more protections in place, and much better management structures that give us a quality harvests that are certain is sustainable. So we feel, I think the politics is starting to turn in our favor. So we're much more well received, I think, by the public.
I think that's great. I think that's really important because, like you said, you've been doing this your whole life, and I'm sure you want to be able to continue in this profession, as do all the fishermen.
Correct.
So tell me, when you talk about fishing in Santa Barbara, so Santa Barbara Channel, is that where we're talking about, or which areas are people fishing when they're based here at Santa Barbara Harbor? Where are they going out to?
Well, we're fortunate here in Santa Barbara to have the Channel Islands. So we have a pretty powerful, strong, rich fishing history because there's so much opportunity, given that there's a great deal of coastal area that we can access from here, not just north and south along the coast, but we can cross the channel and fish there. And so there's just a wide variety of fish species that we've been able to harvest for years and years and years here. And so it's Santa Rosa, San Miguel, Anacapa, Santa Cruz, and some Santa Barbara, San Nicolas. So we have a lot of places to fish.
For somebody watching, what are the kind of biggest catches? What are people going out and fishing here?
Well, Santa Barbara, there's a strong lobster fishery. Rock crabs is a great fishery here in Santa Barbara. The urchin fishery is really strong.
See, I hear that's very popular, right?
Yeah, initially it was all export to Japan, and then it's grown into a very strong domestic market. I think over like 60-70% of the urchins that come in now here to Santa Barbara are sold domestically, which is a great thing because we are trying to promote fish from the dock to the community, whereas in the past a lot of the fish that is landed here isn't necessarily consumed in Santa Barbara.
Got it. And so you feel like those numbers are kind of rising, that some are staying local.
Right, exactly. And there's been a lot of local effort to bring that about. There's been people from the university that have come out of different programs there and tried to address that challenge and move fish from our dock into the Santa Barbara community. There's now a plow to porch has a fish component.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great and important. And also, I think what that does too is then when our community members are enjoying the seafood at local restaurants or even at home, it really ties them back to the fact that this is from right here in our harbor.
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about what's the experience like fishing in Santa Barbara Harbor? What sort of facilities are provided to you? Is it an easy process? I'm sure fishing is never easy, so I don't even want to put that word with it. But do they try to be accommodating? Because we really take pride in the fact that we have a working harbor here. So
exactly, and the history here is we've had a very proactive fishing community that's been able to work with the city to secure certain facilities. Like these hoists are public hoists, and this is a rarity on the West Coast.
Really?
So we're fortunate to have this pier with these hoists on it. And we have an ice machine on the end. And then we benefit as commercial fishermen from beneficial rates on certain things. So the city has made an effort to make it a good place for fishermen to thrive.
And so when fishermen are coming in, you're trying to come in, you bring your catch in, and you're trying to get back out, right?
Well, it's all weather dependent. So
this is a good point.
Yeah, so we all function around the weather, and yeah, that pier can get very busy when the weather's good. And in the recent past, because of the more serious regulatory environment, we've got pretty large volumes of fish that come in at different times.
Got it.
Yeah, we have the sea urchin fishery is pretty strong. 100,000 pounds can come over that pier in an evening still, yeah.
Well, one of the major fisheries here, as you mentioned, and over the winter season is lobster. And so we actually have some footage and a great piece on our City of Santa Barbara's Harbor and Seafood Festival, which was timed with the launch of lobster season and is really a great place for the community to come out and enjoy a lot of the seafood that our harbor has to offer. So thank you again for being here. And now we'll leave our viewers with a little taste of Santa Barbara's Harbor and Seafood Festival.
There's tons of great vendors, live music, food. What more do you want? It's at the beach.
It's good.
I think we get so much great seafood in this city. We're really lucky. We should take advantage of that.
Trumpet.
I love the atmosphere, the people, the weather. It's hard to beat.
Saxophone.
Trying to make a place where people can have some music, a little fish taco, a little wine, and a little ambiance.
Welcome back to On the Waterfront. As we discussed earlier in the show, Santa Barbara has a vibrant history here at the Santa Barbara Harbor. And part of what makes the harbor so vibrant and alive is all of the services offered to its visitors. So to talk with me about that, I have the president of the Harbor Merchants Association, Mr. Skip Abed. Thanks for joining me, Skip.
Dominique, thank you so much for having me.
So tell me a little bit about when somebody comes down here, you know, they might think of, oh, I like to go to dinner there, eat lunch, even grab a coffee in the morning. But there is so much else going on here at Santa Barbara Harbor. Tell me a little bit about what we have to offer.
Dominique, Santa Barbara Harbor is just a unique harbor. I've been up and down the coastline of California, and we just have such a little precious gem here in Santa Barbara. When you pass Cabrillo Boulevard, you kind of enter in a whole new community from, like you mentioned, the fishermen, but also we have a lot of great boating going on. The Wet Wednesdays, the Yacht Club performs some races every Wednesday during daylight savings that you can come out in the afternoons and watch the boats out there racing just right off the breakwater. There are amazing restaurants down here in the harbor, great bars with live music, also seafood, of course, and then you could just get your fun burgers and fries and just kind of relax down here as well. Santa Barbara Harbor has also just a whole bunch of boating fun. You can go hop on a private sailboat and go sailing, or rent a boat and go out and do it yourself if you have the skills, and or do some whale watching. Santa Barbara and our whole channel has very fortunate to have whale watching year round here.
And what, over the winter season though, that's a great time to do some whale watching, right?
Well, yes, the whales during the winter time, basically from February to mid-May, kind of just the tail end of winter, has the migration of the gray whales. And there are thousands of whales and heading along from the Baja all the way back up to the Bering Sea. And they are the only whales that are actually bottom feeders. So they have their young down in Baja, and they're actually teaching their young how to feed off the ocean floor. So they're generally in more shallow waters, so that's why they're closer to the shore. So seeing them can be actually done just from the breakwater or hopping on one of the great whale watching vessels here in Santa Barbara Harbor.
Yeah, this past season, I remember walking on the breakwater and seeing, whales from there, and you think, I just can't believe that, right here in our community, I'm doing whale watching without even leaving.
It's pretty special.
But if you did want to get out on the boat and really get close to them, you can leave on some excursions right from here, right?
Yes, Santa Barbara Harbor has 4 operators that run whale watching excursions on their public trips where there's more people aboard.
That's great.
The Condor Express at the largest one, which holds up to around 150 people.
Wow.
The Double Dolphin, which is a sailing catamaran that holds up to 42 people. And then the Azure Seas, which also holds up to 42 passengers. And then the Sunset Kid, which is a 41-foot sailboat that holds up to, I believe, 14 passengers.
Gosh, if I ever need to know how many people can fit on a boat, I'm coming to you. That was a really good memory. So now you talked about, we got the food, you know, you can walk along, go out. There's also some other, you know, like physical activities. If you want to come out here and not just sort of be an observer of what's going on, you can paddleboarding, kayaking. I mean, there's a lot of activities like that as well, right?
Right. Santa Barbara Harbor has great paddleboarding and kayaking. Just right along our coastline here is just so majestic and beautiful to just get out and go paddleboarding. So you could do that, or kayaking as well. You could do a guided tour, or the sports are, you know, relatively easy to do. So you can actually go out there and you know, push yourself and do it, and it's a lot of fun.
And you know, for you then, what's your favorite thing to come do down here?
Oh, wow.
I mean, no pressure, but a little bit of pressure.
I love it all. I just sometimes love walking out in the breakwater.
Right.
Saturday morning, we actually have the only floating fish market on the West Coast.
Thank you. That's incredible. Tell me more about the fish market. Somebody wants to come down here and
so
check it out.
We have our great fish market where you can go in to like a regular fish market and buy your fish and seafood over here in the Santa Barbara Fish Market. But every Saturday, the fishermen come up on their boats with their live catch, and you could just go up to the boats and actually purchase them right from the boats.
And that's right at the city pier.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, it's right at the city pier, right across from the sushi place and Seacoast Yacht Sales.
That's perfect. And when we say city pier, it often gets confused, but city pier is actually right here in Santa Barbara Harbor. So, and that's because it's the city-run pier.
Correct.
And it used to be the Navy Pier, correct?
It used to be called the Navy Pier. I actually still call it the Navy Pier, but I have to...
That might be less confusing. We might have to bring that back. But, you know, it's really incredible, though. Thank you so much for describing everything. You know, we have over 60 different businesses we lease to just in Santa Barbara Harbor alone.
Now that's a fact I didn't know.
See, there you go. Now I've got a number for you. Yeah, I mean, because think about all of the services for the boaters. You know, everything from the brokers that are selling the different boats and working on the boats, selling equipment for the boats. When you come here, you have everything that you need. So that's really our goal, at least, right?
Yeah, that's what makes it a great working harbor, so it's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at the end of our time, which is incredible. Thank you for all the information.
Oh, my pleasure.
If you were to leave somebody with something and say, you know what, they know the harbor, they've been to the harbor before, but leave them with one thing that maybe they haven't done and they should come back down and experience this winter.
This winter, come back. God, you got me on that one. I mean, there's so many wonderful things to do. I mean, like I mentioned, the fish market, or just even, I don't know when the last time you walked out to the end of the breakwater.
I like that one.
The city actually just spent a lot of time and energy and resources to rebuild our breakwater, and it is just such a beautiful walkway to walk to the end of our breakwater and just sit back and look at our whole city from that vantage point. Is just a nice little way to get out there.
I think it really gives you an appreciation for both the harbor and the amazing community that we live in. So
it really
I
does.
think walking along the breakwater is definitely the best answer.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Skip. I
It was my
appreciate
pleasure.
you being here and
My
taking
pleasure,
your time,
Dominique.
and hopefully I'll see you out sailing.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Sounds good. So thank you for leaving us with that great tip and suggestion of walking along the waterfront. And thank you for being here with us, Skip. Appreciate it very much.
You're welcome, Dominique. It was great to be here. Thank you.
And thank you for watching us for this episode of On the Waterfront. You can join us next time where we come from another iconic and historic location, Stearns Wharf. But until then, if you'd like to find out more information about Santa Barbara's harbor, Stearns Wharf, or parking along our beaches, visit our website at santabarbaraca.gov/waterfront. And you can always come down and visit us at our offices at 132A Harbor Way. Until next time, I hope to see you out on the waterfront.
minutes away. Hours of fun. Enjoy a taste of Santa Barbara. Experience the romance. Stearns Wharf. Playing near you.